Hey, coaches, welcome to today's Football Scoop Online Clinic. Today we've got something really important and a bit different, but really important for the profession. Nick Flanagan from James Clemens High School, who's going to talk about mental health and coaching and how football saved his life. So, Coach Flanagan, the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks, Doug. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you asking me to speak, but also thankful for these clinics right now in this kind of crazy, uncharted times that we're in. This has been really cool to be able to come on here and watch some clinics and still have that relationship with coaches and that camaraderie and the kind of fraternity that we have to be able to come on here and bounce some ideas off each other. And I really appreciate you guys putting this on. So get started. Like I said, my name is Nick Flanagan. I am going to talk today a little bit about mental health and coaching and kind of how mental health and coaching, how things can go, how we are seeing it, and what the stigma is, about it right now in coaching. So kind of first off, real quickly about me. First off, I'm a husband to Jessica right there, you can see, and I'm a dad to Harper. That little girl right there, you can see in that picture in the middle. She is 3 months old and counting. Was born January 20th this year. Jessica and I will be married 5 years this summer. I'm a current science teacher and running back coach at James Clemens High School in Madison, Alabama. We compete in the 7A, Alabama High School Athletic Association 7A. It's the largest classification in the state. This past year, we were 7A Region 4 champs under Coach Wade Waldrop, who's also the 7A Coach of the Year. Real quickly on that, great staff. They have been an awesome staff. You can't be hard to find many staffs with this kind of numbers in terms of high school staff and what they're able to do from an overall standpoint of getting players to the next level, but also, from just an overall coaching experience. You see that number right there, 234 total years of coaching experience. We have 7 guys on that list who are current head coaches that are on our staff. It's pretty remarkable to watch how Coach Waldrop has organized this staff. And if you want to see a recipe for how it should be done in terms from a head guy all the way down the bottom, Wade Waldrop's a guy you need to watch. He does it the right way. He loves it, his coaches. He does everything the right way. And honestly, that's a lot to do with why I'm able to speak today. He allowed me to be able to speak today on these topics. So very excited to kind of get going, but also I wanted to make sure and recognize that James Clemens has been very good to us and my family, and we are very thankful to Coach Waldrop and the entire staff for everything they've done for us. Kind of give you a table of contents, a little bit about what we're going to talk to. This is, guys, it's not going to be your average clinic. I'm not going to get up on a whiteboard and start drawing X's and O's. I'm not going to teach you anything about option football or RPOs or any kind of zone defense. I'm not going to talk about that. What I am going to talk about, though, is pretty cool because it's on the eve of Mental Health Awareness Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so cool that we're going to be able to talk about that today. So it's not going to, like I said, not going to be a lot of film study. Just sit back, maybe listen. It won't be real long, but I hope you can get something out of this. Hope you can take something back to your program. And I hope maybe that there is someone watching this that this helps personally. And if that's the case, this is all what we're trying to do is raise awareness and just to help those people that are struggling with these things. So kind of table of contents, mental health versus illness. I'm going to tell you a story and then show you some warning signs and kind of how we go. So coming back, talking about, as I started this, I want to do a survey. So it is a survey of some of the biggest coaches in the state of Alabama, your 6A and 7A coaches at the highest classification. And took several questions in terms of what I wanted to ask them. It was all about mental health, and I wanted to see where we stood, especially in this state with mental health and what we're doing, both to break that stigma, but also what we're doing in terms of our own self and the head coaches. So this survey was directed a lot towards head coaches. I really wanted to see that in terms of just head coaches. So if you look at the survey, one of the questions I asked was, do you know someone who suffers from a mental health disorder like depression, anxiety, bipolar, etc.? Over 80% know someone, either a family member or someone that has struggled with that. When it comes down to the actual coaches that have coached kids, over 100% of the survey showed it. The survey showed that 70% of coaches surveyed believe there is a stigma associated with discussing mental health in the coaching world, and 60% of the coaches surveyed said they deal with anxiety or depression during the season. So again, the survey just kind of was an overall, and it was really cool to see the numbers. If you kind of look at that, what are we trying to overall? So the big thing is mental health versus what we call mental illness. So what's the difference? We hear mental health a lot, and we automatically think mental health means something's wrong, okay? But it's actually quite the opposite of that. If you look at it, mental health actually refers to our emotional and psychological state. It's our social well-being, how we feel about ourselves, how we interact with others, how we're able to make decisions and function in everyday society. Well, mental illness, it refers to more of a wide range of disorders that affect your mood, your thinking, your behavior. The big thing I want to say about this is mental illness and mental health and the difference. The thing about mental illness, guys, is mental illness can affect anyone, regardless of your age, your gender, social status, head coach, assistant coach, you name it. It doesn't discriminate. So we talk about that mental health and mental illness and kind of knowing the difference. So I want to show you a story of a friend. A guy that I know, I've known pretty much, knew my whole life. I will tell you a story about him. This guy grew up normal family. Everything was, typical upbringing, just like we all had. Great parents, Christian home, was athletic, grew up, played sports, went on to play college, graduated from college. Just like everyone on here, this guy fell in love with coaching. I mean, he loved making a difference. I want to have a purpose. He wanted to have a reason every day to make an impact, and he wanted to use that platform. So he went into coaching. As he went into coaching, some things accelerated very quickly from terms of jobs and responsibilities and stress, and more and more added on to a point where this person who wanted to go in coaching for all these reasons and to make an impact and a lasting impact and do all these things, well, this person now was in a point where he wasn't doing any of those things, and so it really got dark. It really got dark in a lot of ways because there were things that he was dealing with that he didn't really want to say a whole lot about. He didn't really want to give any kind of, real info onto what actually was going on or what really was happening deep down. Friend, like I said, he has everything, and then he kind of goes. If you look at the mental health statistics, we all know somebody like this, guys, right? We all know somebody who, has had something of this nature. Approximately 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. experience, some type of anxiety or depression in a given year. Approximately 1 in 5 adults in the U.S. experience the mental health in a year, mental health disorder in a year. Whether it be anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, you name it. Well, if you look at it, there's 300 head coaches in the state of Alabama. Okay. If those numbers and those statistics are accurate, that means 60 head coaches struggle with the above disorders. If the survey that we did, that we sent out, and again, you heard the story of a friend who was a coach friend who, again, had some things go wrong, fell into addiction, some things got bad in their life, and then you hear that story. Well, you can relate to that because more than likely, if in the coaching world, you know someone who's done this, a colleague or whatnot. So you look at it, and it's just the state of Alabama, 300 head coaches. That means 60 head coaches struggle with above disorder. That's 20%. If you were sitting here and we were going into a game and you knew that 20% of something you did that night was going to be successful, you would rep that play, right? Especially offensively. If I knew I was going to have, 20% success with a certain play, whether that be a great, wide range of points, whatnot, I'm going to practice that. I'm going to make sure and give time and energy to that. It's very similar to your mental health. If you're dealing and struggling with that, and it's only 20%, if you're not giving yourself time to deal with that, well, it's kind of like that play. You haven't repped it, you haven't done. Well, you're not doing the things to help your mind and heal your mind that you should. So again, the numbers are very, very high. The number that was kind of crazy was 800,000 people die from suicide every year. It's one person every 40 seconds. So you tell that there's one person every 4, it's 800,000. When I did my survey, and some of these numbers, again, will make you very cringe. But what I did my study, I asked, have you ever lost someone to suicide? 90% said yes. 800,000 people die from suicide every year, one person every 40 seconds. It's a lot. And the reason I can sit here and I can tell you that that is a lot, and the 300 head coaches in the state of Alabama, as opposed to 60 struggling, that's a lot. Because I know, because that friend that was so hard to tell the story anyways in a different person, that friend was me. I am that guy. I graduated from college, played baseball 4 years in college, graduated and got a job coaching baseball and football. And within a short amount of time here in Alabama, I was promoted to head football coach. I was head football coach, and we experienced a lot of success early. I got married and became a head football coach at 25 years old, all within 2 months. All this happened very quickly. A lot of stress came into my life. A lot of things that I didn't know I was going to be dealing with came into my life, and I didn't know where to turn. Starting in about my second or third year, I would say probably closer to the end of my second year at the school in which I was head football coach at here in Huntsville, I noticed something was changing. I wasn't happy. There wasn't a lot of happiness. Anything I did, there wasn't happiness. I actually was promoted up to baseball was a love of mine. I was promoted to head football and head baseball, but there was no joy when that promotion came. There was literally a feeling of complete emptiness when I found out that I was going to be the head baseball and the head football coach at a high school program. Everything that I was doing, head football, I was married, making good money. My wife had a job. We were healthy. Everything on the outside looked really, really good. I mean, it really did. Who wouldn't want to be a head coach that young? Who wouldn't want to be a head coach and married and doing the things that I was able to do at a young age? It seemed great, but the problem was there was an underlying issue that was going on. Something wasn't right. I never knew what it was. I always thought the anxiety and depression and thing, I thought that's just someone with no willpower and they just got to be able to tough through it. That's not necessarily what I would say my dad taught me. My dad taught me how to talk, and my mom taught me how to talk about feelings. But just that mentality of my own that I created was, I'm fine. I can fight through it. But what happened was I slowly suppressed that. Well, as I suppressed that, these feelings continue to come on. What people, when they're dealing with mental health issues, when they're dealing with mental health disorders, they start to try to self-medicate in some way. Well, for me, I have an addictive personality, and for mine was alcohol. I turned to alcohol. I did, and that was what I ran to. Those moments that I didn't understand what was going on, why I didn't feel happy, why are you not, I would turn to alcohol because it would get me out of those moments. It'd get me out of that headspace. And this lasted for probably over a year or two. I continue up and down with struggles with alcohol, with depression, with anxiety, to a point where I had lost it all. And I say that because that's very hard to say, because the first time really telling this in person, but as quickly as I gained all of the things in my life that I wanted, the head coaching role, money, a new vehicle, nice house, wife, clothes, vacations, everything that I had done, and it looked so great and perfect. But the reality was, within 2 and 3 years, I was flat on my back. 2 years, I was flat on my back, and I didn't know where to go, and I didn't know what to do. Luckily for me, that part on the bottom right here where it says 800,000 people die from suicide every year and one person every 40 seconds. See, that's a statistic and that's a number. And the thing about that statistic and that number is there were several days in the midst of all that, in the midst of, I know some of you right now are understanding this because you went through it, but in the midst of that darkness, I was very close to being that number down there. I was very close to being that statistic. And quite honestly, it was a lot closer than I ever thought it was. But by the grace of God and by the grace of great people around me, that's all now something that I can talk about because, yeah, that was a hardship. But now let's start telling about the story of grace and how we can get on from that and move forward because, believe it or not, as nasty as that is down there at the bottom, there is a light through this. And that's what I want to share with you today. So why is it recognizing mental health really important? Well, if our minds aren't healthy, we're not healthy. You think of it as head coaches. If our minds aren't healthy, we're not healthy. I would notice as I would go through the season, I spent a lot of time as I was the head coach in the midst of all this, mental depression and anxiety and all these things that were going on and the addiction. I can remember practicing. I remember just focusing everything I had on the game and on the film and whatnot, and spending tons of time focusing on that. And then you realize you get to a Friday night, and I know every coach on here knows this feeling, but you get to a Friday night, you win, you get back in the locker room, and you realize finally you've rested. Finally I can breathe, right? So I spent an entire week focusing only on a football game and not about me. If I'm the one making decisions and I'm the one in charge, how if my mind's not healthy? And in that regard, there was a lot of times it wasn't. If my mind's not healthy, how am I able to make decisions? I mean, we can't take care of our players if we haven't taken care of ourselves. It's kind of like an oxygen mask on an airplane. You know, they tell you to take oxygen mask, put it down on your face before you help anyone else. Well, it's kind of like this with mental health. If we're not taking care of ourselves, how can we take care of other people? How can we take care of someone that is dealing with it? We got to take care of ourselves first. We got to be able to focus on the clarity and the ability to make decisions quickly so we can keep our student athletes safe. Let's just think of this, guys. If you were to know that it was fixing to be 2nd and 26, now I'm an Auburn fan, but I'll say that it's fixing to be 2nd and 26, national championship game, and you were fixing to have to make a call that could win the game from one side or lose the game. But also, nobody knows when that was coming. If you hadn't taken care of your mind from that point up until that 2nd and 26, if you hadn't taken care of your mind until that, how do you know that you're in the top shape to be able to make that call? That's going to make, as we see, a huge difference. But it don't necessarily have to even be 2nd and 26. How about just everyday life? How about if, Tyler comes to me and Tyler wants to talk to me about his problems, but all night I've been in my own problems and been in my own head and not talking to my community, got this out. It's hard for me to be the true coach and the true person I want to be if I'm not taking care of my mental health first. So why is there a stigma to it? I think earlier I said a stigmatism or something, but why is there a stigma in coaching? Well, why don't we talk about it? Well, it shows signs of weakness and giving up control. As coaches, we don't want to show signs of weakness. We never want to show signs of giving up control. And we don't have any time. Out of the survey that I asked, out of time you spent on yourself as a head coach during a given week, do you believe that the overwhelming 100% was less than 2 hours a week on themselves? That's pretty significant. Would you go into a football game on a Friday night only have spent 2 hours on your game plan? So you got to think of it in that way. Our mental health is so important because we have to take time for it. And everybody struggles in some way, shape, or form. Mental health, guys, if we can get anything out of this, mental health is your overall well-being every day. You have to take care of your mental health. You may not have any signs of any of this, but you still have mental health that you have to take care of. And on the side of, if you are struggling with anxiety and depression and suicidal thoughts and addiction and whatnot, those are times when instead of having to show a sign of weakness and give it up, those are more signs where we break the stigma by coming forward and saying it. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're looking at statistics speaking, if 1 out of 5 people are struggling from this in America, then every person you come in contact right now, just about, even during this quarantine, You're going to come in someone that's dealing with it. Your mental health can turn into a mental illness if not treated, if not taken care of. I went for almost 2 years with completely untreated mental illness. I wasn't in any kind of medication, any kind of therapy, nothing. I was way, way, way too strong and way too prideful to ever think about asking for help. Way too. But what I found through all of it is when we do start to make that change, and how we can make that change from the stigma point of it is just take it away and look at it as a literal matter of that first where I was showing those suicides of life and death. It's amazing how your mind starts to change when you start thinking about life and death as opposed to what you will and won't say. Because it's just something that everyone's dealing with something in some way, shape, or form. Every person you come into contact with, they have something that they're dealing with. And just knowing that and knowing how we can be aware of that and the warning signs of what we can do. So talk about it. Talk about it. Understand everyone has those struggles, and be vulnerable. And it's very vulnerable to go in front and sit in front of a woman, and tell her all your feelings. It's even more vulnerable standing in front of your boss and telling him you got to step it down because you were too prideful to take that first step. You were too prideful to take that step and say, hey, I'm going to get some help and I'm going to get this figured out. Because trust me, you could be on that end because that's where I was. Having to let bosses know that I got to step down because I got to take time to figure out what's going on in my life and why it's out of control. And step away from everything that I thought I wanted. So when that's when it was so much different for me. When I was faced with that situation, my mind started changing a lot. It started understanding this a lot more. So talk about that and like ways to stay healthy and how to kind of treat your mental illness. There's several things. Obviously staying healthy is one of them. When I asked that about the hours of sleep, it's amazing. Actually, our head coaches are getting more sleep now. Survey across Alabama, our head coaches get more sleep now than probably did 5 years ago. The coaches all surveyed are getting 6 and 8 hours of sleep. That's awesome. Give you an info. We played a game and won a huge game when I was head coach here. And when I woke up on Saturday morning, I'd realized we added up, not only slept about 10 hours the entire week. 10 hours. You can imagine that and what that can do to your mind. So staying healthy and getting sleep is important. It's the most important thing is getting your sleep. I would say most important, but it is very important. Physical activity, just something to get your body moving, get those endorphins moving. It's just something you can do. You don't overlook yourself while looking out for your players. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. You got players to take care of, but you got to take care of yourself first before you can ever help someone else. And then talk to someone. And then take medication, see someone if you need to. That's huge in all this. Just knowing ways to do it. So I guess kind of all this is kind of a lot to say. Where does this fit into the coaching mode? Well, I think it fits into this. I think it fits into as we come up on mental health awareness and what it means. You gotta understand that this is something that is growing in America. It's something that we finally are talking about more. All of our coaches agreed that we are adequately providing more information for coaches now on mental health and mental illness than ever before, and that's amazing. But we can't just stop there. We have to make sure and get awareness about this, bring awareness, show why we're doing the things we're doing, in order to help not only other coaches here, but also to help other players that are struggling with this. Every player that you struggle with or that struggle with something, you have to be taking care of yourself to be able to do that. And then the medication part, like we said, if you need to, seeing someone to do that. Next thing is kind of, as we kind of look at it, is your core values. I tell people this all the time. That story that I told you both before and after, there's a lot of facets to that story. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of ugliness. There's a lot of things that I hope I never have to talk about a lot. But that is also my story, and I'm okay with that. I accept it and I own it. I own that I made a lot of mistakes at one point. but I also own that who I am today. I own who I am, and I can tell you it's going to be everything that we do will be that I do in order for both my mental health and just my personal growth is every decision, everything comes around these core values, and that's my faith, that's my integrity and honesty. That integrity and honesty is a funny one because here's the thing: I was one of those coaches too that if he got 44 yards, but I'm gonna say 45. Well, when I'm being honest, for me, and it may not be like that for everybody, but for me, it's being brutally honest. And if a running back got 43 yards, that's what I have to put down. I can't put 45 because if I say 45 on that, if I say he got 45 yards, well, the next thing you know, I'm exaggerating more and more, and before you know it, I'm right back in that same situation that got me where I was in the first place. That pridefulness, that not being humble, and just that's where it got me. So I have to be honest in everything. Perseverance, just pushing through things. Last one is relationships. I think relationships are healthy in mental health and the way that you're able to approach it. Communicate. The more you communicate about these things and talk about it, the easier it gets to come on to tell, and the easier your story gets. But building relationships with people who understand it and don't judge you. I can boldly stand here right now and say, or sit here, I guess, and say that I'm on a staff right now who have accepted things that accept people for who they are. It's a bunch of guys who've been through a lot of things in life, whether that be addiction, whether that be anxiety, depression, whether that be pornography, whether that be compulsive, whatever that may be. A lot of people go through these things, and it's okay. It is okay. But finding people and getting relationships with people who have been through things and that can help you in whatever that walk of life that you may be going through, that's key. I wish so bad, and again, like I said with my story, I'd love to tell it more in depth and more of the facets. But the overall part of the story that's just I wish I could do something about was I wish I would have told someone. I wish I could have, if I could go back, I wish I would have. I had so many times that I was so close and I had it typed out and ready to send, and I wouldn't do it. I needed help. I needed to go see someone and talk to someone, and I needed to get these things taken care of. But I was way too prideful and I was way too humble. And now, when it comes back to these core values, and I know that my core values are on relationships, I know now that if that's what I'm thinking and I've got those thoughts, and I know that I can go to some people. I've got relationships with guys on our staff close enough that I can go to them and tell them what's going on, and they're not going to think differently or go tell their buddy or tell another colleague. And man, that's when you know that your core values, and that's when you know things are starting to line up in place. So my relationships are something that, again, that I have to hold on to really, truly be able to push forward. Now, as we kind of start moving forward on this, I want to say that this was the first time I've ever spoke out about mental illness in terms of telling people about what I went through. I was classified, or I did get, diagnosed with a mental illness back over a year ago, in January, over a year ago, and was able to get on some things that were able to help with the crazy anxiety and the crazy worrying, and just was able to help with that. And man, I've been able to see a difference. But that relationships and that faith has been something that's just, I've had a lot of faith that things would work out, that if I tell the truth and do things the right way, that things would work out. And the relationships have been really cool. I've been able to join a staff that, again, like I said at the beginning, is a really good staff. They're really close. They were, honestly, if we're just being truthful, one of the very few schools that even wanted to, give me a second chance, so to speak. And I'm very thankful for that. Very, very, because what this has done is given hope, and it's given a lot of hope to what we can do in terms of raising awareness for this, to what our stories can tell. Look, I'm one story, and I know someone out there is watching this, and someone has went through the same thing, and I know that. But I'm one story. Those stories need to be told, and we need to hear it. And you're not different. I don't think you do. No one when I found out that no one will think differently of you is when the day that I started finding peace. When I found out that, hey, I need to seek help. Just like I'm the guy that people come to for help in a head coaching role, hey, I got to get help because this ain't in my expertise. None of us football coaches are out here right now being able to tell how we can cure this coronavirus, right? We have experts that are able to do that. Well, gaining relationship with experts and getting the help that you need and talking and telling it, man, it's amazing. There are people who are, that's what they're here to do. That's what they're educated to do, is to help us in these situations. And don't be scared to get that help. It's so crucial. And, I sent a list of questions to a close friend about some of this, about some of the things that I went through, but some of the things in asking. He said that he struggled with depression over 5 years ago. He has seen kids struggle with it. He's seen athletes struggle with it. He's grown. And this guy's been at some high-level coaching positions. But through all of it, his responses are very similar to where mine were in terms of it's all about having that closeness in that relationship and that perseverance. And being honest, just being honest with both yourself that hey, I'm not okay. Right now, I'm not okay. I shouldn't be thinking that. Or, hey, I shouldn't be doing this. Wait, this is getting out of hand. You got to be honest with yourself. We tell our kids every day, be honest, be honest, be honest. It's time for some of us to start being honest for ourselves. What's really going on? Talk about it. It's okay. It's okay. Break the stigma. It's okay. You watched what Blake Anderson went through back when he spoke at the AFCA conference, and man, it was just probably one of the most remarkable speeches ever. And you look what he's done, and you look at some of the things that where he based his core values on. That's where, and that's how he was able to get out of those times. And that's how I was able to get out of those times. And I kind of want to as we kind of close this out, but the biggest thing that I hope we get from this is that having a mental health issue and dealing with your mental health and having that mental health issue, that is real, but that's not you. That doesn't have to be you. I don't have to be classified as Nick or as Coach Flanagan, who, lost it all really quickly, who gained it all really quickly and lost it all really quickly. I don't have to be classified as that. I don't have to be classified as someone who has to take medication. I don't have to be classified as any of those things. Yeah, absolutely. Those things are real and those things happen. And I did lose a lot. And I did almost lose my life. And I was on the other end of that suicide stat pretty regularly. But that's not who I am. I'm a man of faith. I'm a man of integrity, of honesty. I'm a man of perseverance. And I'm a man of relationships. And I truly believe that that's who I am, and that is who God defines me as. I'm a Christian. I'm a husband. I'm a father of that beautiful girl. I'm a teacher. I'm a coach. And when I finally got my core values and my priorities lined up, it was amazing how quickly things can start to change. Because as quickly as you can lose things, as quickly as they can be lost, as quick as you can be laying flat on your back and not sure if you'll wake up the next day. Sure as you can lose it, and sure as that moment can happen, when you turn it all over and you start finding ways to take your core values and put them into everything you do in every single day life, and not just football, but into everything I do, into every decision I make, I have core values and I make decisions based on my core values. It's amazing how quickly things can start to change in the positive way. Listen guys, mental health disorder, yeah, it's got a bad stigma. And that can be. That story of a friend that I told you at the beginning, that was a friend. That story, that was me. But again, that was a friend because that is my illness. I do have those symptoms. That ain't who I am. And I'm very, very thankful that that's not who I am today. And I'm thankful that I can say that now and it didn't take me 30 years, and I'm having to say it then. I'm so thankful and blessed that I can say the things, and I can be on the other side of this now. And I wasn't that number at the bottom. I wasn't that statistic. Guys, that's about all I've got. I know it kind of jumped a little bit, but I hope you got something out of this. If you need to talk, my email's on there. You can reach me, get in touch with me. If this helps one person, man, it was worth it. So for anybody out there, and for that one person that may be looking in the camera right now, look, it gets dark, man. I've been there. It gets dark. I understand. But let me promise you this. There is a way out. There is a way out. There's not the ladder. You don't have to be that statistic. You don't. Don't be it. There is a way out. Reach out. Get help. Find someone. Talk to somebody. You want to be the best head coach in the country? Great. That's awesome. So did I. I want to be the best head coach ever. But you know what? I need to be the best me first. Because if I'm not the best Nick, and I'm not the best husband, and I'm not the best father, and the best teacher, and the best coach, if I'm not that, nothing. I have to be the best me. I can't be labeled by a head coaching title. I can't be labeled by depression or anxiety. I can't be labeled by addiction. I want to be labeled as me. I want to be labeled as Nick Flanagan. And I want to be me. And that's who God intended for me to be. And I'm very thankful for that. Guys, that's it. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it, Nick. Thanks for sharing your story, man. We can't thank you enough, man. It's powerful stuff.
How are we still recording here?
Yeah. So I got one question for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
A coach or even a player comes to you and says, I'm struggling with this stuff. What's kind of the first one or two things that come to your mind as far as helping that kid or young man or older coach, whoever it may happen to be?
Yeah.
What's really beneficial?
So, here's the thing with me, and when I see that, if you start seeing some warning signs, and there's, we know warning signs of racing thoughts and whatnot. If I've started seeing some and then they come to me, hopefully I've got a little bit of a plan to talk to them about. But if they just randomly, just stop in to say something, first thing you want to tell them is be honest with yourself first. It's easy, because we've all done this. It's easy to tell what you want to be told. Okay, it's easy to tell that I can't hear whatever is going on in your head. So to the kids, I really stress: tell me the truth. Tell me everything, no matter how bad it may be. Tell me what's going on, because we can work with that. We can't start making a plan and start trying to help someone if we don't know the whole truth. So being honest with us. But then maybe the next step is just continue to follow up. If it is a student, and you follow up with a counselor almost immediately. If it's anything to do with mental health, get with your counselor. They are trained for this. Get with them. But also let that student know that it's a safe place they can come and talk to you about. And you're going to help them, and just help them wherever they're at. It's always good to listen more than to speak. So in those moments, sometimes people just won't talk and they need to get it out. And you're a good person to let them hear it. Listen and don't start trying. The worst thing we can start doing is like getting in their lane and start trying to control where they drive. Make sure that you listen before you start immediately giving advice. So that would just be probably my main idea or main things that I would say.
It's awesome. Really appreciate you sharing your story, Nick. I think it's going to be beneficial to a lot of guys, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much,